Jack owned the most luxurious suite, the finest restaurant, and even a starry sky exclusively for him. He had everything he ever wanted, but endless loneliness brought tears of sorrow to his eyes. A year ago, Jack joined the human migration program. However, disaster struck. The spaceship collided with an asteroid. In the aftermath of the violent impact, Jack was the only one awakened out of 5,000 passengers. The AI system, following its programming, congratulated Jack. Your 120-year journey has ended. Eagerly, Jack changed into fresh clothes, ready to embrace Earth too. But when he reached the ship's main hall, he froze in shock. The vast space was empty. He shouted down the silent corridors, but no one responded. Even the crew in the control room remained in deep slumber. At that moment, Jack realized the horrifying truth. He was the only one awake on the entire spaceship. Desperate, Jack checked the ship's navigation. It was still 15 light-years away from Earth and 45 light-years from its destination, home too. The journey would take another 90 years to complete. Hastily, he sent a distress signal to Earth. But in the boundless void of space, the signal would take 19 years to arrive. A reply wouldn't reach him for another 55 years. Jack's heart sank. No internet. No friends. Only an unbearable solitude stretching across decades. Refusing to succumb to despair, Jack tried repairing the hibernation pod. When he finally lay inside, it malfunctioned, nearly costing him his life. Frustrated, he turned to the control room. He hammered at the sealed doors, used lasers to cut through, but they wouldn't budge. Exhausted, Jack stumbled into the bar and made a surprising discovery. Someone else was there. It was Kubo. Rushing over in hope, Jack quickly realized Kubo was only a humanoid robot. If nothing can be changed, Kubo said, why not enjoy the moment? Kubo's words gave Jack an idea. Perhaps luxury and indulgence could drown out loneliness. Jack broke into the presidential suite, rolling across his soft, extravagant bed. He feasted on the finest lobsters, lost himself in arcade games, and floated weightlessly in the observatory. But 6 months passed, and loneliness was still his only companion. Countless times, Jack considered ending it all. Each attempt ended in hesitation. He spent his days drowning in alcohol, hurling bottles in frustration. One bottle rolled near the hibernation pod, and there, Jack saw her breathtakingly beautiful woman. Cold and elegant, she was like a sleeping beauty. Jack stayed up all night reading her profile. He became obsessed. 4 months, the thought of waking her tormented him, a battle between his desires and his conscience. Eventually, Jack gave in. He awoke the woman, whose name was Laura. Consumed with guilt, Jack retreated to his room, hiding all evidence of what he had done. His heart raced with both anxiety and excitement. Later, he staged an accidental meeting with Laura and confessed the truth about their situation. When Laura learned the reality, she panicked. She desperately wanted to return to hibernation, but the pod was damaged beyond repair. There were no spares. Determined not to give up, Laura pored over the pod's schematics, experimenting with every possible way to return to sleep. After a week of effort with no results, Laura had to face reality. She was destined to spend the rest of her life on the spaceship. Thankfully, Jack was also awake. At least, in the loneliness of the spacecraft, they had each other to confide in. Laura jogged in the corridors while Jack read books downstairs. When fear overwhelmed her, Jack was her only solace. They tackled challenges in the game room, watched movies together, and even chatted with Kubo. For a brief moment, Laura felt fortunate that she wasn't the only one awake. Jack confessed his feelings to Laura, and soon, they started dating. Floating in the vast expanse of space, surrounded by romantic starlight, Laura's eyes were full of love. She fell deeply for Jack. They shared passionate kisses and began living like an old married couple. They rode together in the presidential suite, entwined in the empty dining hall, and embraced under the shimmering stars. Jack prepared a ring to propose, but Kubo accidentally revealed the truth. Laura was devastated. She couldn't believe that the man she loved was the very reason for her suffering. She should have been asleep until Earth too, but Jack's selfishness had awakened her, dooming her to a life confined to the spaceship. She cried in anguish and struck Jack in rage. She kicked him hard on the bed and even grabbed a steel rod, ready to end him. But then she broke down in tears. Loneliness was a terrifying thing. If she killed Jack, she would be utterly alone. Jack, consumed with guilt, tried every way to apologize. He confessed over the ship's intercom and even planted a small tree in the hall as a gesture of atonement. But Laura would never forgive him. While the two argued, the ship's systems began to fail more frequently. Instruments malfunctioned, and Jack narrowly escaped being trapped in an elevator. Neither of them realized the gravity of the situation until a third voice came over the intercom. In the hall, near the small tree, stood a strange man. Who was he? It turned out the ship's AI had awakened the captain due to the emergency. He called Laura and Jack together to explain the situation. The asteroid collision had damaged parts of the ship, and the automatic repair systems were unable to function. The lives of over 5,000 passengers depended on them manually troubleshooting the issues. As they began their work, the ship's gravity system failed. Laura, who was swimming at the time, nearly drowned but managed to survive when gravity returned shortly after. She hurried to the captain, who revealed that the ship had been deteriorating for the past 2 years. To repair it, the three of them would need to work as a team. But just then, the captain collapsed. Upon examination, they discovered that his hibernation pod had malfunctioned, leaving his body riddled with organ failure. He was nearing the end of his life. Summoning his strength, the captain handed his access card to Jack, entrusting him and Laura with the lives of 5,000 passengers. As alarms blared in the hall, Laura temporarily set aside her grievances with Jack. They worked together to search the engineering section for the source of the problem. After prying open a stuck door, Laura was suddenly pulled inside by a powerful force. Jack desperately used his body to brace the door, kicking a computer toward Laura. Using the device, Laura managed to seal the doorway. They narrowly escaped disaster. Soon, they discovered the cause of the damaged asteroid fragments had struck part of the computer system, causing other core systems to become overloaded with calculations. Jack replaced the damaged components, but this inadvertently caused the reactor's computational load to spike, preventing it from properly venting heat. The only solution was to open the exhaust vents from outside the ship. If they failed, the high temperatures would cause the spaceship to explode. With a shield in hand, Jack prepared to face the danger head-on, ready to sacrifice himself. The flames inside the reactor grew fiercer, bolts and screws flying off with terrifying force. One struck Laura's shoulder, causing her to tremble in pain. The exhaust vent required someone to manually hold the switch in place to keep it open. Jack was the only one who could do it. At that moment, Laura realized she loved Jack. But the flames roared with increasing ferocity, and there wasn't enough time. Holding back tears, she painfully removed the switch, and in an instant, the searing flames engulfed Jack like a ravenous beast. With the reactor stabilized, Jack was flung a great distance, his spacesuit torn open by the explosion. Using his last ounce of strength, he confessed his love and apologized. But Laura managed to rescue him and used her highest level access to save his life. After surviving this near-death experience, they shared a deep kiss. Jack then discovered that the medical pod had a hibernation function. However, Laura refused to sleep again. Instead, she put on the ring, and with Kubo as their witness, they vowed to be together forever. 88 years later, the spaceship arrived at Earth 2. All 5,000 passengers awoke to find the main hall transformed into a garden, resembling Earth's beauty. It stood as a testament to their love.